All right, everybody, welcome into the Denver Nuggets postgame show, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I'm Dan Tanner for In the Paint. Nuggets lose in Chicago tonight. 129 to 121 is your final. We have a lot to get into tonight. In fact, I'm reading this now from Vic Lombardi tweeting this out. 24 threes surrendered by the Nuggets tonight, tied for most in franchise history. Vic says you can't win. You can't win when you lose the three-point battle. 24 made threes for Chicago, just 6 for the Denver Nuggets. So that's really what the story of tonight's game was there in Chicago. All right, let's go ahead and see D-Mac on here. We'll add D in.
Hey, Dan.
D-Mac, welcome to the show.
That was so disappointing tonight.
That was a very odd game tonight, D-Mac. 13-0 run for Chicago to start the fourth quarter. It really, Chicago I thought, kind of dominated that second half overall. Yeah. And it's weird because the Nuggets really, for a large majority of the season, have been really, really good coming out of halftime and into the third quarter. And over the last couple of games, they've seemed to struggle in that area a little bit.
Yeah, Christian Braun had a big night, huh?
Yeah, career high.
I don't know. I mean, we probably should have known we were cursed when Jokic had a career record for dunks. I mean,
yeah.
probably something odd.
Well, why do you say that?
I'm kind of joking about that.
Okay.
It was a weird night. They had the lead that I thought they were going to hold on to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they got beat 68 to 53. So they lost the second half by 15 points. Ouch.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good.
Man.
They got nothing off the. Oh wow, Malone only went with 3 guys off the bench.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a playoff type of rotation. That means this game meant a little more to Malone, and he couldn't get the production he wanted. Yeah.
And dude, Malone was. He was fuming pretty much all game long. Like rage timeout after rage timeout tonight from Malone. Outside of Jokic and Christian Braun, like you mentioned, D-Mac, the Nuggets really struggled. I mean, Jokic started, 11 for 11 from the field, and the Nuggets lose this game by 8 points. You get a monster triple-double from Nikola Jokic, 33 points, 14 assists, 12 rebounds, 15 of 21 shooting from the field, D. Very efficient from Jokic. Christian Braun was 11 of 15. This is something I've brought up a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and I'll have to pull up the stat exactly. But basically, the Nuggets, as far as the NBA goes, it's turned into a three-point shooting league. Really, the majority of teams launch at least 30 to 43s every game. Well, the Nuggets are dead last in the NBA in three-point attempts. They're one of the higher percentage shooting teams, but they don't take a lot.
No.
It feels like something has to change in that department because they dominated inside the painted area. I wrote this down at the end of the first quarter, D-Mac. Mm-hmm. The Nuggets led 35-32. 28 of those 35 first quarter points came in the paint. 28 of them. So the painted areas, they're fine. I don't think they're shooting enough threes, though, and that's really what cost them the game tonight.
Well, I'm looking at the it's comical. They outscored the Bulls 84 to 38 points in the paint.
Yeah.
But the Bulls hucked up. The Nuggets shot 22.2% from 3. They only made 6. Mm-hmm. And the Bulls made 24 of 53.
Yeah.
So the Bulls were just like, we'll trade 3s for 2s. We don't care, obviously. We do not care. We are going to stop. First of all, the Nuggets only put up about 33s every game anyway, so you don't have to do too much to stop them. So the 3s weren't falling, and we saw it with Cleveland, and we saw it with Boston. And I don't know, Dan, you tell me, man, I don't know, is this Eastern Conference basketball now? I mean, is this more familiar in the Eastern Conference than the Western Conference with hucking up the 3s? Because it feels like in the Nuggets' recent good stretch, and they were on a significant good stretch, it didn't feel like the massive amount of 3s being taken was actually a big factor. And the game in Minneapolis I kind of dismiss as just kind of like whatever. But the Bulls had lost 5 straight home games and were 8 in their last 10. And it feels like they looked at the tape of the Cavs and the Celtics against the Nuggets and were just like, screw it, let's go. I mean, whatever. Let's just huck them up. And
this is the playbook going up against the Denver Nuggets right now, D-Mac. Shoot the three like crazy.
Well, then you got to defend it better, and I'm sure that's what Malone's upset about. It's got to be.
Yeah, of course. And, this has been an issue all season for the Nuggets. Is one of the biggest things I've been harping on is their three-point defense. It's been atrocious. And, that's not just me saying it. Michael Malone, we've been in there. He's talked about this several times. They need to get better in that area. Now, over the last couple of weeks, they actually have significantly improved their three-point defense. But we saw on what was that, Saturday against the Timberwolves, they were raining down threes like crazy. And then we saw it again tonight in Chicago. So look, they had a good stretch there where they were defending the three ball better, but they seem to kind of regressed again in that area. And by the way, you got to wonder, D, how long this experiment of bringing Aaron Gordon off the bench is going to last. Now I get he's still on a minutes restriction, and that's really when it's going to become an interesting dilemma for Coach Malone to sort out. But, it looked like it was working. But over the last 2 games, that second unit has really fallen off and not looked great. And, they really could use that Swiss Army knife defender in the starting lineup with Aaron Gordon. So Malone's got a lot of tough decisions coming up here in the not too distant future.
This is a quirky one because they had a really good start. So that's, 35-32. At least they had the lead, right? And then they outscore the Bulls 33-29. All right, fine. Not incredible, but hey, solid. So they did get off to a good start. The wheels fell off. It's funny, though. It still was kind of okay after 3. The wheels really fell off in the 4th.
Yeah.
And, he had been mixing DeAndre Jordan in there. He had been. And that was not the case tonight.
Yeah, interesting there. I mean, this was the first game that DeAndre Jordan didn't play in the last 20. He had played in 20 plus straight games.
Right? Seriously?
It was something like that. He had played there was a significant stretch of him playing in a string of games. So you got to wonder, a lot of times that stuff for Malone is just matchup based. But man,
are you looking at Jamal's numbers
from tonight? Oh yeah. Well, you tell me. What were your thoughts on Jamal's game tonight? It's unfortunately what we're seeing more consistently out of Jamal is nights like tonight. 8 of 20 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. Minus 16 plus minus 18 points, only 1 free throw attempt. He got 6 rebounds, which is okay. 6 assists, which is okay. But he's not taking it to the hoop. He's not making threes. He's, 8 of 20. It's all right. Unfortunately, we see this is much more of a typical Jamal Murray night, and you can't win like that, man. Yeah,
minus 16 plus minus. The largest. Straw that was minus 16 was 0 points, so he was useless. He was terrible tonight too.
Yeah, and this is his worst game in a while.
You can't have inconsistent nights like that. And Westbrook he was fine. I don't know, he was all right.
It definitely seemed like Westbrook and Jokic were a little bit not on the same page tonight. There were several plays where, those little intricate passes that they've gotten so good at, they were just a tick off tonight. You know what I mean?
Well, they did not shoot well enough from 3, and they probably, in all honesty, they probably just flat out did not take enough 3-pointers. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. I get it. You weren't shooting well, but, it is weird to see a team who just doesn't care. We will let you score in the paint all night. We don't care. We're going to hook up 50-something threes. And that's what the Cavs do, and that's what the Celtics do. And I would be curious I don't know if you have it or not or if you'd find it, but who are the teams that take the most threes? And I am literally just guessing off the top of my head. So we'll see, because you could look it up. But I'll guess that 7 of the top 10 teams in attempted threes are from the Eastern Conference. It just feels like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I certainly know Cleveland and Boston are up there. And I know the Nuggets take the fewest amount of threes. And they just didn't hit them tonight. They didn't take a lot, and they didn't make a lot.
Yeah. That's something that is going to become a real discussion of like they have the guys that can do it, D-Mac. That's what's interesting. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is a very good shooter. Jamal Murray, very good shooter. I mean, Nikola Jokic is second in the NBA in 3-point percentage. No, he's not taking a lot of threes, but he's hitting them at an insanely high clip.
Right.
So you got to wonder, and you know what? Maybe this is something we can ask. We're going to have Coach Malone on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
And maybe this
yeah. Well, no, I love having him on. I love having him on. It's just been a couple of rough games is all.
I would be curious, if you guys asked him, what is your philosophy on how many 3-pointers that the team should be taking to get? Is there a number? Because if you remember, D-Mac, a couple of years ago, I can't remember what the number was, but Malone did have essentially a rule that said we need to take this many threes per game. We need to get to this number. And then the following season, he did away with that. He's like, we didn't work out. It didn't work out as best as we thought it would. So they did try that.
Well,
so it will be interesting to hear that.
My thought is he'll say, I mean, we can definitely ask something along those lines. My thought is he'll say it wasn't taking the threes, it was stopping the threes. That was the problem. We didn't get out and defend outside, and they clearly didn't, not to the degree that they should have. And that is an interesting question. Like, oh, well, why didn't you? Because it felt like there was a point that they were doing a pretty good job with that. So why weren't you? But by the way, Chicago, again, this reminds me a lot of Cleveland. In that Cleveland game, they took 18 threes off the bench.
Wow.
Tonight they took, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16. The bench took 16 threes. The bench.
Wow.
And the Nuggets as a team took 27. And let me see what they were. So 16, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. So they were 7 of 16 off the bench, so just under 50%, which is more or less what they shot as a team. So when you've got that kind of bench scoring, that is really hard to stop.
All right, D, I've got the stats here for you.
Okay.
So what did you say? Now this is in regards to what teams in the NBA are attempting the most 3-pointers per game.
Attempts. Yeah, attempts.
Right.
Not percentage made, but attempts. Who's hucking it up there?
Well, Boston's number one. No surprise there. They're taking 49 a game.
Okay.
The Nuggets took 6 tonight. But Chicago
they made six. They took.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they made 6. But Chicago's number 2.
No, but Chicago's number 2.
Chicago's number 2 in 3-point attempts per game.
Not Cleveland.
Cleveland is 5th.
Okay, that's 3. Who's 4th?
So it's Boston, Chicago, Golden State, Charlotte.
Okay,
Cleveland,
Charlotte's Eastern.
San Antonio,
4
Minnesota, Brooklyn, Utah, Miami. Those are your top 10.
So 6 out of 10. So by a slight amount, it's more Eastern Conference than Western Conference.
Yeah.
So, and then the good old Nuggets at 0.
They're 30th.
30th, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. I mean, but and I know exactly what, because we have had this conversation. Mm-hmm. He will say, and you can look this up too, we're an elite scoring offense. And they are. I think per average game, they are the 3rd highest scoring team per game in the league. They were, at least. I think they still are. So let me look at it. We got Cleveland number 1, 121.8. We got Memphis, 123.3. So they're first. Then Cleveland. Then the Nuggets, 120.6 per average per game. They're the 3rd highest scoring team in the league. So despite having the least amount of 3 points attempted, They are the third highest scoring team, Dan.
Yeah.
So you can't say you should shoot more threes when you're the third highest scoring team in the league already.
Right. I mean, what's the justification, to your point, of shooting more threes if you're the third highest scoring team in the league? Well, they're dominating inside the painted area. I mean, there's no doubt about that. As we bring our esteemed colleague, KJ Granderson, in to the conversation. KJ, DMAC and I are talking about the Nuggets are they're ranked dead last in the NBA in 3-point attempts per game. Okay. Chicago's actually number 2 in the NBA. I didn't realize that until we just looked it up. Do you think that that's an issue in your mind, KJ, that the Nuggets don't take enough threes? Because to DMAC's point, what he just said is the Nuggets are the third highest scoring team in the NBA. With that being said, they also take the least amount of 3-pointers. So what do you think are some of the bigger issues on that end of the floor right now for Denver?
Well, to answer your first question, I don't think it's an issue where they need to take more threes. I think they're fine. If they're already third in the league in total scoring, if it isn't broke from that perspective, don't fix it. My biggest thing with the Nuggets is they've got to get better at making a higher percentage of the threes they take. If you're only going to take 30, there is no excuse for why you are making less than 15 a night. Okay? Mm-hmm. That has to be the mindset. If I'm not going to take many, the ones that I do take, I need to make them, because these shots could make or break the game. This is the stuff that the Nuggets have to be thinking about. They know they're going to get their paint shots because of the way Jokic plays offense. They know how Russ is. They know how AG is. They know the guys that orchestrate the offense. They know that they're downhill guys. But if you're not the downhill guy, if you're MPJ, if you're Julian Strawther, to a degree, if you're Peyton Watson and Christian Brown, you've got to be ready at all times, because you guys are going to make or break the game. It's the others. The big three, they're fine. They got it. You know what they do. They've been doing it forever. It's the big three. It's the other four, that have to be very, very, very reliable from the 3-point line. And they're too hit or miss right now. And it's driving me crazy. I know it's driving Malone crazy.
Yes. He called about 50 rage timeouts tonight, KJ.
Dude, it was unbelievable.
D, before we get you out of here, let me ask you, we'll end on this with you.
Yes, sir.
Zach LaVine has been in a lot of rumors, if you will, potentially that the Nuggets could have interest in him. Now, the trade deadline's just, a week away? I got to tell you, man, I'm not super high on Zach LaVine, but after tonight, I was like, he would look pretty good in the Nuggets offense. What do you guys think? Do you think they should go for it, or are they okay where they are?
Who are we losing? Who's not on the team?
It's got to be Michael Porter Jr. That's the only way the money works. So
if
they take Zeke, I'll be okay.
They just take Zeke? What, like he's like a Chick-fil-A coupon? Like they just, in addition? Zach LaVine tonight, 6 of 13, 5 of 10 from 3. It's pretty good. We know he can dunk. Zach LaVine on the season. Wow, 24 points a game? Damn, son. That's pretty good.
What's Michael at? 17 or 18 right now? I mean, I can look.
I'll look it up. I don't think it's 24.
Hold on.
It's not 24.
Let me come to MPJ's defense, though.
18.1.
MPJ is at 18 as the third scoring option. He's only at 24 as the number 1 scoring option.
Yeah. And his Michael Porter Jr.'s field goal percentage is 51.2, which is really good. LaVine is at 51.2. So this is pretty simple. I'm just going to assume LaVine just takes more shots. That's why he scores more points per game.
Yeah.
Wow. I think rebounds and assists, 4.9 and 4.5. I'm going to guess that's pretty similar. Hold on. 6.4 rebounds. So Michael Porter Jr., better rebounder. Not as many assists because Michael Porter Jr., if he touches the ball, he better shoot it. He's not going to see it again. So he doesn't have much of a choice. Don't pass, Michael. What are you thinking? He can't pass. So, wow, that's crazy. They have the same exact field goal percentage. Michael Porter Jr. by a pinch is a better rebounder, and he just takes less shots. If he just took more shots, but he's not allowed to take more shots, is he, fellas?
Not allowed by who, would you say?
The nature of the Nuggets.
Okay,
who they are.
I mean, sort of a Jokic type of deal where that's just how they run their offense. Like, is that what you're saying?
Well, Dan, let me ask you this: since Russell Westbrook is coming to the starting five, how often does he look for MPJ?
Not very often. But Jamal doesn't really look for MPJ all that much either.
So, but how would this change if you got Levine? Like, why would it change? Why would Levine get more shot attempts than Michael Porter Jr.? They literally shoot the same exact percentage.
Well, Zach LaVine's a shot creator. Like, that's what he does.
That's the difference. He can go one-on-one and break guys down.
Yeah, way better than Jamal Murray. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Zach LaVine, he can just what he does. He knows what he does, and he does it so smooth and so effortlessly. It's darn near scary sometimes.
Yeah, he can create his own shot, whereas unfortunately, Michael Porter Jr., at least to this point in his career, hasn't shown the ability to really do that. And then the question would become: are you starting Zach LaVine or bringing him off the bench? But fellas, there's 1 week essentially till the trade deadline. What would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, the chances the Nuggets make a move involving Michael Porter Jr.?
0.
Okay.
0. Do you see the backlash that the Avs just got for trading Miko? The Nuggets aren't messing around.
Are we really comparing Miko Rantanen to Michael Porter Jr. though?
No, we're not. I'm just saying the Nuggets, they share the building.
Michael, don't get me wrong. I do. Okay.
By the way, I just
Michael Porter Jr. defender.
I just looked it up. Levine and MPJ are scary, and they shoot the same. Slightly better 3-point percentage from Levine. I mean, slightly. Okay. But Levine, in the same amount of games, has shot, are you ready for this? 96 more shots than Michael Porter Jr. So, I mean, that sounds like a lot, but how many games have they played? What's the total number of games played here? We played 41 games. So that means he's taking 2.3 more shots. He's taking 2 more shots a game than Michael Porter Jr. So that doesn't feel like a lot, but it adds up, doesn't it? It adds up.
It does. Don't forget their number 2 scorer. He was out tonight, Kobe White. So
yeah. All right, D, we'll let you go. Any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
I have a moment of inspiration for Avalanche fans based on tonight.
Okay.
Lonzo Ball, 25 minutes, 18 points, 6 of 10, 4 of 7 from 3. Pretty good game from Lonzo Ball. And he is recovering from the same exact injury as Gabriel Landeskog. So I find that encouraging. He's not doing, he hasn't played a ton this year. But, whatever, you take it. And it's good to see him out there. So I'm not rooting for the Bulls or anything, but I'm personally rooting for Lonzo Ball because I'm hoping if he can recover, maybe there is hope for Gabriel Landeskog. So how about that for a little bit of, I'm
really glad you brought that up because no joking. I was thinking about that the whole game. In fact, right before the game started, I'm like, oh yeah, we got Lonzo Ball back here. Let's see how he's moving. How does he look out there? Because you're right. He had the same surgery Gabriel Landeskog had. The knee cartilage replacement, whatever they did. Now, I will say Lonzo, I believe, is about 2 months ahead of Gabriel Landeskog. So, but that's a great point. And I do think that's encouraging for Avs fans. And the fact that he's out there playing and he playing well, he looked good the way he was moving. That's a good point you brought up. It is very encouraging. So.
All right, fellas. I'll see you later. But bummer, and we'll have Michael Malone. What time is he coming on, Dan? Do you know?
I'm waiting for a text for confirmation. Sometime between noon and 3 tomorrow. Tune in to Altitude Sports Radio with D-Mac, Scott Hastings, and Tyler Columbus and myself, and we will speak to the Nuggets head coach, Michael Malone.
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, there he goes. D-Mac on the show. I'm just waiting for a text, KJ. Waiting for the text. I don't know what time yet. These road trips, are, and I get it. Like the team's busy traveling, they've got to, their itinerary's full.
If
like
you're
I
anything
get
like me with Christian Brown last week, you'll get a text at like 10:50 at night, and then you'll find out. So how about that?
There you go. Yeah. All right, KJ, good stuff, man. So, man, tonight just felt like off. I mean, we had Nikola Jokic, career high in dunks. Okay, he starts the game 11 of 11 from the field. Yep. Super elite, super efficient. Christian Brown has a career high 28 points. CB tonight. What did he shoot? I'm pulling it up here.
I want to say he was 9 of 11. Double check though.
11 of 15.
11 of 15. Yeah. Okay.
Like super efficient. So my point is like, and Joker was 15 of 21. So you had 2 of your 5 starters. Joker goes 15 to 21. CB goes 11 for 15. Joker has a monster triple double. Christian Brown has a career high 28 points. And you lose this game because of your porous 3-point defense. That's what they scored it. Listen, let me just say this. And I'm stealing this from Scott Hastings, so I'm giving him credit. The Nuggets should be able to win every single game where they score 120 or more points. Okay?
Easy.
They scored 121 tonight. You should win. Let me put it this way. You should be able to be on like a 60-plus win pace for the season if you're getting to 120. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a lot of games this year, KJ, where we've seen the Nuggets score over 120 and lose. The offense is fine, okay? The offense is not the problem. The problem is the defense, and specifically the 3-point defense. I don't know if there's really like a move that the team can make to where it's going to drastically improve the 3-point defense.
No, it's not. But I found the fix tonight. I finally found it after kind of studying it throughout the game. Here's where the Nuggets get in trouble. The Nuggets, they like to do this thing where they switch on every possession. And when they switch on every possession, it's I'm chasing this guy, and we're going in a circle. If I am going to allow this guy to drive, I've got to, again, we don't want to put Nikola in foul trouble. That's the real reason that the Nuggets find themselves swarming all the time. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to trust my interior defense enough to where, outside of the guy that's being picked, the rest of us got to stay home. I'd rather, you see the Chicago was okay giving the Nuggets, 2s for 3s tonight. Well, I think the Nuggets have to have that same mindset. We cannot, under any circumstance, allow 3s. So either stay home on the shooters and you just trust that Jokic can be able to bother enough shots to where it's not that big of a problem, or, you're going to continue to lose on the 3-point line. And that's just the honest truth. So with that being said, that's how you fix it. You got to stay home on the shooters. And you got to trust the 2 people that are in the pick and roll to do what they need to do to kind of at least bother that pick and roll enough to where it's not that much of an issue.
All right, KJ, hang with me here. I'm going to play 2 minutes of Michael Malone, his post-game presser they just posted. So let's listen to Coach Malone, and then we can react on the other side here.
Okay.
First half of that third quarter, they seemed to really turn you guys over. What do you feel like that was a product of?
Once again, us messing with the game, thinking that we could just show up, score at will. You tell them all morning, this team's going to run, and our inability or unwillingness to get back, our inability or unwillingness to guard one-on-one, and our inability or unwillingness to rebound the basketball when they did miss, the few times they missed, was on full display.
Did most of your time that stretch at the start of the fourth for the second unit? It seemed like they were able to cash in this broken play threes.
Yeah, it was just one-on-one basketball. We couldn't guard one-on-one. They just beat us at the point of attack over and over and over again. And when they did miss, we had 5 guys just standing, watching, and not in the fight at all. And that team played so much harder than us. So really, really disappointing. Doesn't get any easier as we go to New York, a team that put up 145 in our building. So we'll watch film and challenge guys to be better.
That bench had been better in the last couple games or as of late? Where did you feel like they struggled tonight?
Didn't have much productivity. Obviously, only 10 points. And not very efficient, obviously, in terms of our numbers within their play. But that group's got to give us a spark, some energy, some juice. And, but everybody, it was just team-wise. We win as a team, we lose as a team. And we, as a collective unit, we're not anywhere close. We should have been up 20 at halftime. But we messed with the game. You let a team hang around. And in that third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, they just literally just drove the ball down our throats and rebounded and went driving, kick three. All because we couldn't guard the ball or wouldn't get back. So we'll watch it, we'll own it, and we'll try to be better, in our next contest.
Okay, so there is Nuggets head coach Michael Malone, obviously frustrated. Whew. Didn't play hard enough, KJ. This is something Malone will do periodically, about once or twice a year. He'll call his team out for not playing hard. Now, to his credit, I think he's starting to. I think he's understanding that he can't just do that all the time. Otherwise, it sort of loses its effectiveness. Right. But I haven't heard him do that yet this year, unless I missed it. Man, that's tough though. Like, he's like, we just got outworked. They just, weren't running out to the 3-point line, kind of just like what you were just talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to really think about this, because to me, at least watching here at home on television, it didn't look like the Nuggets were playing hard. So I would be curious to get more of Malone's thoughts on maybe specific areas where you didn't see that. But on my end, it looked like they were playing hard. So I was a little confused by that. But what do you think of Malone's presser there?
So first off, me responding to what you just said will kind of answer how I feel about Malone's presser. So you were saying you couldn't really pick out spots where you felt like they were struggling with the effort. How about the fact that they struggled continuously to get back after they scored a bucket? Okay.
There you go.
And how about in the second half, you struggled to turn them over? They only had 6 turnovers in the second half, right? And you constantly didn't close out on threes. And then not to mention the Nuggets, when you missed a shot, this isn't even after a make shot. This is after a missed shot. After a missed shot, they're beating you down the court. It's multiple 4-on-3s, 3-on-2s. It's just like, come on, man, what are we doing? It's just inexcusable. When we think about what Malone asked them to do, all he's asking is that you get back and compete. He understands you're not going to be able to block every shot and steal every ball. And he understands you're not going to be able to make every shot, right? That's just impossible. But at the end of the day, if you aren't getting back, if you aren't being disciplined in your coverages, then you're going to continue to struggle. That's why it doesn't matter if the Nuggets run man or if the Nuggets decide to run zone, they continue to struggle because there are guys that just they don't get it. They don't understand where they're supposed to be. And it showed itself again tonight. I saw the same thing in the Minnesota game. There were multiple times Minnesota, they're leaking out. They're gone. They're already in transition as soon as you miss a shot. And it's just like the Nuggets, their desire and their I try to be careful when I use this word. There's a sense of entitlement that they have when it comes to the refs, that they sometimes would rather complain than get back on defense. Inexcusable, man. You are not the reigning champions. You are not. You are getting back up the mountain. You aren't at the mountaintop anymore.
KJ, and I know a lot of Nuggets fans aren't going to like me saying this, but I think it's true. I think you're 100% correct when you say that. And you know who the guiltiest player of them all that does that? It's Nikola Jokic.
Yep.
It is. I mean, it just, and look, this isn't just, on the Nuggets. Like, every team does this to a degree. But I'm with you, man. Like, there are so many games where, it's really hard to find any fault with Nikola Jokic. But the two things I would say that come to mind are sometimes it doesn't look like he's trying at all on the defensive end. That's not always the case, but there are certain instances, and I can show people video, like I've seen montages of it. It's kind of pathetic, honestly. But I wouldn't say that's like a common theme, but there are instances of him doing that. And then to your point, man, I agree with you. And I never really thought of it that way. But now that you bring it up, like, I think you're 100% right, where Joker is busy arguing with the ref or looking for a call, and he's just kind of standing there while the other team's going in the other way in transition. So that's a really good point, man. And I didn't really think of it. I've seen it happen, but I just kind of, whatever. But you're right. I think that's a problem.
It is a problem, man. And it has to get to a point where, and I know that this is hard for a championship team, an experienced team, what I'm about to say, but it has to get to the point where Malone has to be the one fighting and arguing for the guys. The guys, they can't, every possession down can't.
And Malone will do that, KJ. Malone will do that. He has done it many times, okay?
Exactly.
Like, they know he's going to do that for them.
Why won't the players just lean into that more? He doesn't mind picking up the text. He loves his guys so much. He'll get thrown out of a game to prove a point. He's done it, like you said, on multiple occasions because he loves the Nuggets and he wants the best for them, and he'll do anything to inspire them and get them over the hump. But if they don't understand that, if they don't embrace that we have a coach that can pick up the slack with the refs in moments where we just can't, as players, it feels like they're not hearing us, my effort should never go down because I feel entitled to the refs' opinion of me. It should never be this. Your effort should always be here. And then if you have moments where you need to you feel like, okay, I'm getting here, this is when you need to turn to your coach and coach say, hey, look, I'm having a moment with the ref. He's not hearing me. And if Malone gets on the ref, then you can kind of feel yourself going back down where it's like, okay, my coach got my back, but my effort never drops off. That's the type of mentality that the Nuggets have to get back to. I know we don't want to play playoff level defense and, game 40, whatever it is of the season. I get it. I know. It's a long road trip. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you're the Nuggets, you are not number one in the West right now. You have to keep that in mind that you are still climbing. You're still climbing, okay? There are teams on your heel. Houston looks really good this year. Dallas, when they get healthy, watch out, okay? Memphis, they started off good. They're one trade away from, taking another turn. It's just like you got teams on your heels, Denver, and you got to you got to live from that place of like, man, I cannot take my foot off the gas. You lost 2 straight. You just don't have the luxury to play around in the West. The West is too tight this year. Tighter than it was last year. OKC is locked up to 1. So 2 through 8, there's no room for margin anymore. You got to get serious on the end of the court, man.
KJ, let's see here. 7 games separates the 2 seed through the 8 seed. Just 7 games. That's it. Like to your point, it is very tight. And then you've got Houston, who's in the 2 seed right now. They've won 3 in a row. They're 8-2 over their last 10. Memphis did lose, but they're 7-3 over their last 10. The Thunder are 7-3 over their last 10. Now the Nuggets are too, but like this was a great opportunity for them to make up a couple of games in the Western Conference. And that you start out a road trip 0-2 and away they go. And now they were 14-8 on the road going into this road trip. Now they're 14-10, obviously. I really thought, Minnesota I think that's just a bad matchup for the Nuggets because they're not having a great year, but they just, for whatever reason, match up really well against Denver. But this road trip has a lot of winnable games. The one I'm worried about most is the one that's coming up. When is it? On Wednesday in New York. I mean, you just heard Malone talk about it. The Knicks kicked the Nuggets' ass in Denver this year.
Not only that, but if you go back to last year, they kicked their butts.
Yeah.
Listen, there's something about when the Nuggets face physical teams. Please forgive me. I wish I would have did my homework before I came on. If I remember correctly, I think the Nuggets are 1-2 versus OKC this year, 0-2 versus Houston, 0-2 versus Memphis, and 0-2 versus Minnesota.
Yep.
So it's just something about physical teams, and you're going to face the most physical team in the NBA, and it's not even close tomorrow.
Well, what happens when you go to the playoffs, KJ? The game gets way more physical, right?
Exactly. So I don't know. And I said tomorrow, I meant to say Wednesday. But look, man, it's just the nature of the beast if you're the Nuggets, man. Do you want it or do you not? Okay? Do you want it or do you not? Like, at the end of the day, that's where we are. Because if this team refuses to be physical, then, I mean, you're going to force Calvin Booth's hand this summer. So.
Yeah, man. Well, he might be handcuffed with the second apron that they're in and all that. Okay, one more piece of sound here, KJ, I want you to hear, and then we'll let you go. Altitude TV just posted Jamal Murray talking after the game. So let's hear from Jamal.
This league doesn't get any easier because now you got to get on a flight and go to New York who scored 143 tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every night's different. We got to lock in, and I'm sure after this 0-2 road trip, we'll bring some more energy. We'll be more locked in and stuff like that. So it's just tough. It's just tough. They came out in the third and they came out hot. So just got to play harder and find our own rhythm.
Play harder.
What's it like being in a timeout huddle 2 minutes into the game?
That means you're doing something wrong. And he was right. No, coach was 100% right. They was too comfortable, too easy. We made it like a back and forth fast break game, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got. So, I think we, like I said, from the beginning of the game, just bringing my energy on the defensive end. Offensively, we're going to miss. We're going to make. I already know that. Defensively, we can make a little more uncomfortable.
Season over season, you guys have been most comfortable.
Okay. So there was Jamal Murray, KJ. Again, you heard him say, we got to play harder. You could probably tell that Malone ripped into him a little bit over that. Mm-hmm. But you know what else that kind of just made me think of this? I'll tell you what, man, like Nikola, you know what you're getting with Nikola Jokic, okay? He's going to be consistently awesome for this team, right? Mm-hmm. But the way the Denver Nuggets go is the way Jamal Murray goes, man. Like, if Jamal is on it, the truth. If Jamal Murray is playing at the level that he was starting to get to over the last month or so of the season, I would say they're a legitimate title contender. But if we get the Jamal Murray we saw tonight, it's a completely different team. And, Jamal tonight, 8 of 20 from the field, not great. 1 of 5 from beyond the arc, not good at all. Did have 6 assists, 6 rebounds. Okay, not bad. 18 points, but he was a minus 14. It really is striking to me. Like, we've always known that Jamal is obviously a key cog for the Denver Nuggets. But man, I tell you what, this year it's becoming even more apparent just how critical his success is in relation to the team's success. It's wild, man. If Jamal is going, the Nuggets are going. And if he's not going, the team's not going.
Yeah, no, he's definitely in a lot of ways kind of like the heartbeat of the team, man. Like, he just, like, you can tell when he's getting ready to flurry, you can tell the team, they're cooking. Like, there's just so many moments. I mean, dude, it would be about a 2-hour montage if somebody ever put this together. Like, the moments he starts flurrying, what they start doing on the defensive end, like, their effort just rises, man. And listen, I understand, they're just like little, matriculations with his game that he's still trying to, fill out, and he's trying to, pace himself with, man. But, every night, if I were him, I never thought about this until right now. Every night, if I were him, I would come out as if I'm the number 1 scorer on this team. That's how you have to think about it. And I understand MPJ usually is the one that have the big first quarters, but I think Jamal Murray kind of has to be the one to kind of set the tone moving forward, because way too often, if he's not setting the tone, do the Nuggets kind of just get steady. They get steady. But when he sets the tone early, even if they're not blowing the team out in the first quarter, you can kind of still see their energy. It's just rising. It's just rising. They feed off his energy. There's something about what he does and what he does and what he produces as the heartbeat of the team that just it really fuels and drives the Nuggets' energy. And I know that should never be just tied singularly to one player all the time. And typically it's not, because it's typically tied to Jokic. But at the end of the day, Jamal Murray has to understand what he means to this team, and he cannot lay down on that, because if he's not cooking, there is more chances than not that the Nuggets will lose. And we're not talking about, maybe, him getting anywhere between 18 to 22 a night. He does that on average. I'm talking about north of 25. And that kind of has to be his mindset moving forward. I'm not saying you're taking 26 shots to get there, but I'm just saying, if you know you got something working or you got a favorable matchup, go to that 1-5 pick and roll earlier in the game. Don't be afraid to do that. Like, it's not something that's only meant for the fourth quarter.
Am I going crazy here this year? Like, are the Nuggets not utilizing the two-man game between Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic as often as they have in the past? Like, am I going crazy? Because I keep thinking about that.
Not.
Like, but why though? That's my question. It's because
best. Russell Westbrook is the best point guard. That's what Malone has decided, that he's the best point guard. And even in moments where Jamal Murray should have the ball in his hands, they feel as if there's a better creation that needs to come from a possession, it still needs to go through Russell Westbrook. And I'm just like, man, I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, but KJ, even when, like, before Russ was in the starting lineup, but when he was coming off the bench, it didn't seem like the two-man game was as prevalent as we're used to seeing. Now, part of that might have had to do to the fact that Jamal came into the season out of shape, okay? He did. And I will credit Jamal. Like, he has definitely worked himself into much better shape. I mean, just look at one of the Nuggets, like, first, 10 games of the season compared to now. Like, you can tell he's definitely gotten into much, much better shape. So that's great. And maybe that was part of the reason. But, man, it's like that's the deadliest, two-man game in all of the NBA. That's what led the Nuggets to an NBA championship just less than 2 years ago. So to me, it's just been kind of interesting that they haven't completely abandoned it. Okay, like, I'm not saying that they're still doing it, but it doesn't seem like they're doing it as much as they used to. But to your point, I think the Russell Westbrook signing does have something to do with that. And honestly, I think the two-man game that's worked the best so far this year for the Nuggets has been the Jokic Westbrook two-man game, not the Jokic and Murray two-man game, right?
Right, which is a scary thought, because to your point, going into the season, we just always knew it was going to be that 1-5 pick and roll we could depend on, but it's a different 1-5 pick and roll we depended on this year. And I hope as we kind of get maybe Malone kind of start to unlock that or peel the layers back a little bit more once we get on the other side of the All-Star break. Maybe he's just like, this is January, this is the time of year my team starts to get ramped up, this is the time of year Jamal Murray really starts to get cooking. And maybe he's just kind of like slow walking this thing into what he really wants his, playoff offense to start to look like. I'm trying. That's the optimistic mindset I'm trying to have. But it's frustrating, Dan, if I'm being extremely honest with you.
All right, KJ, last one for you. When Aaron Gordon is officially off of his minutes restriction, okay, what do you think Malone does with the lineup? Do you think he keeps Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup and keeps Aaron Gordon coming off the bench, or do you think he reverts back to putting Aaron Gordon in the starting lineup and having either Christian Brown or Russ come off the bench? What do you think he decides to do?
Aaron Gordon will go back to the starting lineup because of them starting off 0-2. They're going to end this road trip with a losing record. Unfortunately, it's just the God's honest truth. So by the time they get back home, AG will be super close, if not already off of his minutes restriction. And then he'll just put them back into the starting lineup. Christian Brown has scored 20 or more points in 5 of his last 7 games, including tonight. So I think you gotta stick with Christian. You do now have the flexibility of bringing Russ in sooner. So like Jamal Murray, he can run the old version of what he used to do when they had Bruce Brown. You know, they would send Jamal Murray to the bench about, give or take 5 to 6 minutes left in the first. And then he bring them back, early in the second. And, he sit them out, for about 4 minutes in the second. And then he bring them back with probably like 3 minutes left in the second and kind of stagger his minutes like that, so they can have more out of him for the stretch run. I think Malone is going to have to go back to that, and I think he will go back to that because he now has that luxury with the way that Russell Westbrook is playing alongside Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I think Malone is such a creature of habit that he literally will not be able to help himself not returning Aaron Gordon to the starting lineup. But we'll see, man. It's weird because those first, 4 or 5 games Aaron Gordon was back coming off the bench, I tell you what, it changed the whole dichotomy of that second unit. We talked about this. Like, if it keeps looking like this, like, you kind of have to stick with this because it's working so well. Well, over the last 2 games, it hasn't looked so great. So, how patient is Michael Malone willing to be with trying out this experiment, or how long will he be willing to be patient and keep this experiment going? And again, I know it's because Aaron Gordon's on a minute restriction, and that's kind of the deal. So I don't know, man. There's gonna be some interesting decisions for Michael Malone coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So
no doubt.
KJ, excellent stuff as always, my man. Thank you for jumping on, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Appreciate you, my man. I will see Nuggets Nation on Wednesday.
All right, there he goes, our guy KJ Granderson. Excellent stuff there from KJ. Yeah, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what Michael Malone does with the starting lineup. So tough loss for the Nuggets tonight. Again, they lose to the Bulls 129-121. Nikola Jokic does get his 21st triple-double of the season. Just another brilliant performance from the Joker. Brilliant performance from Christian Brown. They just didn't have the horses to ride with them, and the bench just kind of let him down tonight. I mean, Julian Strawther, 0-4, 0 points. It's really unfortunate for Julian because he really does look like he's sort of taken that next step in his development. And, hopefully this is just sort of the outlier game. But he definitely took a bit of a step back tonight. So tough loss for the Nuggets. We will be back with your post-game show coming up on Wednesday. The Nuggets will be in the Big Apple taking on the New York Knicks. That game's an ESPN game. And pregame coverage starting on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, starting at 5 o'clock with Berto and Kaz. And then I'll have your post-game show right around probably 7:45 or so. So we will see you then, and have a fantastic night, everybody.